Welcome to video clip 1.5, in which we discuss models and instances. Each business process model acts as a blueprint for a set of business process instances. So we have seen in the previous videos that we want to model, to represent business processes as they run in the organization as business process models. So the business process model is can replace the real world business process as it happens. But the real world business process happens many times. So each time an insurance claim is received, a new business process instance of this insurance claim is created. So for each business process model, we have many instances of the business process. So the abstraction feature includes classification. Classification means that the model stands for a whole class of instances. In our case, the business process model stands or represents a whole class of all insurance claim process instances. All right. To make that a bit more concrete, there might be three insurance claims of our insurance claim process. Insurance or a business process instance represents a concrete case in the operational business of a company, I like to say. And here we have three claims. So this is just the data written as a tuple here. So the first element might be the claim ID, so 142. It's an insurance claim by Weber. Weber might have the customer ID 7671. The claim is from the 18th of September. This year a road bike has been stolen and that's the price of the road bike and so forth. So we have the three claims here. The three claims represent the three process instances. And each process instance behaves exactly as specified by the process model. So let's look at the Weber claim. So the Weber claim is received. For the Weber claim, the claim is registered, it is decided, and well, we prepare the letter of approval, and the claim is approved. Then we can take a look at the next process instance. In order to do that, I need to erase the trace of Weber, and we look at the claim by Petersen. Petersen also sends a claim, so the claim for Petersen is received. The claim is registered. It is decided on the claim coverage, but in this case, the claim is rejected, and the letter of rejection is prepared for Petersen and sent out as well. So we see that each process instance is represented by a walk through the process model, and all these instances are really independently from each other, are running independent from each other. They might overtake one another. If a certain checking needs to take quite long, then others can proceed independently from the process instance, from the first process instance. We seen in the introduction and also in the first video that as clients we trigger business processes, and we now can be a bit more precise in the sense that we trigger business process instances. And again, here we see that every client that sends out or that sends a claim to the insurance company creates a process instance on the side, in the side of the insurance company. Sometimes there is a bit of confusion about models and instances, process models, process instances, and I think in part it's due to the fact that there's no visual representation of the concrete process instances. We only look at the process models, and the process instances somehow flow through this model, and therefore it might not always be very easy to understand what a process instance is, but I think I try to communicate what this process instance is, in the sense that each case in the operational business is represented by this process instance. And in the previous slide, we had the example of the insurance claims by these three gentlemen whose bikes have been stolen, and these three gentlemen created then each process instance. We come back to the point of the missing visual representation when we talk about process simulation later in this course. So process simulation gives us the ability to also visually represent process instance, and that is also one of the strong points of using process simulation. I also like to stress that terminology is important, because whenever a number of people with different backgrounds speaking different technical languages need to agree on a common language, terminology of using the language is very important. So we need to be careful when using the term process. So far we have been quite sloppy in using the term process, but now we can ask, do we mean a process model or do we mean a process instance? So when we hear sentences like, do you have a process for procuring material? Do you have a process for that? Probably we mean, is there a documented process model for that? Or is there a documented process for that? And that is ideally done in the form of a process model. Often we see textual representation, and the question is the textual representation really a process model? I would rather see process models, visual process models, written in a standardized language as suitable representations of business processes. Another saying here, did the hiring process already start? So in this case, we probably mean a certain process instance. Did the hiring process of a certain position already start? We mean a particular process instance. So we need to be very careful whether we mean process model or whether we mean process instance. We could even say strictly that there's not such thing as a process. It's always either a process model or some other type of process description or a process instance. So you will reduce misunderstanding in projects when you are very careful about using the term process model and process instance. And that concludes this short video clip about process models and process instances, in which we discuss that process models are blueprints for a set of process instances with the same structure. Process instances represent concrete cases in the operational business of an organization. There's a one-to-many relationship between models and instances. Each process model can have an arbitrary number of process instances. And we discussed that we need to be quite strict about terminology, in the sense that, do we mean process model or process instance?